was chair of the commission, and like you really had a desire to groom younger people into these leadership roles. I believe the vice chair at the time was a recent UTSA graduate.
Yes, the young man.
Yes, and Russell was treasurer, and then I was secretary. And I really feel like you paved the way, like you made a way for like me to step into this role because after I was secretary, then I was vice chair under Dwayne, and now
Yeah,
I'm chair.
and congratulations, because
Thank
it has
you.
been. It was my desire when I was asked. I hesitated to get involved in a commission for many, many years. I was part of the movement with Reverend Callis
Yes.
from the mid '70s forward. So I had never been a part of the organization of the commission under the city of San Antonio,
Okay.
and it was deliberate, because being a part of a structure of an organization for oversight and administering something so critical to the community takes a full-time job.
It does.
And I think you've learned that now.
It does.
And then having the way it happened to bring me in. Not only I always had to be the desire to be the March chair. So I was appointed the March chair under the previous, well, under Dr. Keely Petty at that time. But then there were changes made during her service. Well, then I was brought in not only to be the March chair, but to be the commission chair.
Yeah.
And we didn't have time to go through it because of the COVID season.
Right.
So we had to say, one of the things that I'm trained on the professional side is I need to see the structure of the organization. So after 38 years, it was still operating as though it had just begun.
Correct.
Right? So we look through it and say, how are we building a legacy, and we training others to come through? Because most civil rights organizations have a legacy of individuals that you train. So when I was in the community and we were working on this, I had the fortunate pleasure of having those mentors of John Sanders, Mario Salas, Rick Green, who were involved in the whole organization. Being in Reverend Callis's class at Riley Middle School to see exactly what was his dream to make this forward.
Right.
Before we got to Holiday for Dr. King, when we used to walk on Nebraska Street because his desire was not the march; it was for infrastructure and sidewalks in our communities. A young man died on Sprigsdale at Commerce, so we used to march to get a traffic signal because the city of San Antonio was not putting traffic signals on the east side.
Yeah.
Something is that significant that makes a difference in our community. That inspired me to look at public service and being a public servant. So when I got the call that said come in and help us with the march, it was the right time for me to move over there and see, and that's when I came in and started to figure out how do we bring others to be a part of this and put people to work, not business as usual for the commission, because that's always the complaints from the east side.
Yeah.
We're often overlooked, but we're also often asked to get involved at the beginning, but not in the implementation phase, so we don't benefit. And that has been the legacy of a lot of projects that happened. So when I came to the county 25 years ago, kind of looked at, where should I be of service? Because we don't like to waste time, right? We got a lot of other things we could be doing with that time, right? So you got to take care of that time and invest in that time. And I think when we decided, it was the October for the march during COVID, that we would make a movie because the march had never been documented. There's a lot of pictures. There's a lot of Ken's 5 was a sponsor. News 4 was a sponsor. So a lot of folks have slideshows, but nobody has really told the story.
Right.
So when we worked on the story, I think it was fantastic. And those movies are not on the website right now. They're on YouTube. So we still, we ask people to go look at them because we thought they would be put at the libraries in the schools so the kids can see the story. And there was some controversy because we told everybody's side, if you remember that.
I remember that.
We let everybody get on the bus.
Yes. Yes.
And not everybody was happy.
That is true. And you all used, the commission used Sam Houston alumni, and I believe he is a faculty member.
Yeah, Yaki Smith.
Yes, at UT, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought that that was significant.
Mm-hmm.
That like not only did we make a movie, but we let native son
Mm-hmm.
of
Who
San
used to be in the
Antonio.
march
Yes,
because he was in the band at Sam
yes,
Houston.
yes.
So when we brought in, because you weren't there for the first one, you was there for the second one, right?
Correct.
So he had to edit the second one
Hmm.
because we had to make a decision at the last minute. You remember that night at Barbara
Yes.
Jordan? I mean the Clark Black
Hmm.
Center. Well, we had to make that decision,
Yeah.
and we didn't really have time for him to start over. So the second one is an edited and updated version of the first one.
Correct.
Because when that after that night I made y'all vote
Yeah.
and say, what we gonna do? All the media's in the room.
Yeah.
What we gonna do? Are we more concerned about putting people on the street, or are we concerned about everybody's health and safety?
And we decided we were concerned about everyone's health
And safety,
and safety.
because the COVID was not over.
It wasn't, and there was a surge.
People
it
were
was
still
back
dying.
on the rise. Yeah.
That's right. So we made that decision because leadership's at the commission, and leadership is a hard
Yeah.
decision. And what inspired me to make that decision is thinking about Dr. King. Doctor King over the Pettis Bridge, Norman Pettis Bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and had to make a decision. We're gonna stop this crowd, and we're gonna turn around, and we're gonna come fight this fight another day.
Yeah.
Because if I go now, a lot of my folks gonna die.
Yeah, they was gonna kill them all.
So you have
Yeah.
to understand the legacy of Dr. King when you're leading the people on behalf of the legacy of Dr. King.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, and and you were really good about correcting folks, reminding people that this is indeed a march
Mm-hmm.
and not a parade.
Correct.
And we do it in the spirit of Dr. King, the civil rights movement, and all those who marched
Right.
before us. And I think that that's significant, and that is definitely one of my charges.
Mm-hmm.
To ensure people that this is. We have the largest march in the country because we continue to march. We haven't morphed into a parade,
Correct.
a pomp and circumstance around the holiday, but really keeping it about what it's about. And I also think that there's enough stuff going on in the city
Mm-hmm.
where businesses and community looks forward to this time of coming together.
Absolutely, because it's not just a holiday and a celebration. We have those throughout the city
Mm-hmm.
where we can celebrate. This one is to commemorate the
Correct.
legacy and life of the Reverend Dr. Martin
Yeah.
Luther King Jr. and all the things that he stood for. And no matter what community you come from, you're trying to instill that in your children, in your neighbors, in your friends. And, the organizers of the first march, and every year we would get out on the street and make sure it didn't become a parade.
Yeah.
Because the city of San Antonio's financial commitment is a huge responsibility. So you don't have to pursue those sponsors.
Correct.
And even though you have some sponsors, those basic services and costs are covered.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the city over the years for their investment has ever really been recognized. We take it for granted that the taxpayer really is funding this thing. And all of us are paying for it through our tax dollars.
Yeah.
And we all benefit from it, which is a great thing. And when it was first started, it was the city county commission.
Yes.
Okay. So when I came to the county, and I became the chair, I had to look up a little research. Because how is that the city has the burden and then the county, but then the county became Juneteenth.
Okay.
Okay. And the Juneteenth
Yes.
celebration and all the things. And that's why the park at Comanche Park and some of the things that some of the other ministers were doing over the years, because there's two elements that we recognize.
Yeah.
And then eventually Juneteenth has a holiday. So now Commissioner Clay Flores, when she was elected, she actually got that to be a county holiday. And now
Correct.
she funds that and those activities that we have. So it's a tremendous amount of investment and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
But the commission still needs to figure out go forth on the structure. Because in this anti-DEI, we have to be able to own it, just like the Fiesta Commission owns Fiesta.
That's true.
So that's
true.
one of the
Yes.
things that we were setting up and looking forward to, because how does it operate? When I look at the amount of tourists that come in,
Yes.
because all of our families and our kids, we fill up the hotels
Mm-hmm.
for 3 days. That weekend, all the way through Tuesday morning
That's right.
when everybody's going
Mm-hmm.
back. But how do we capitalize on those dollars for the MLK Commission? We
Yeah.
never have engaged in those conversations. And when I got off the commission, I don't know what happened going forward.
Yeah.
But that's kind of
Yeah.
the road I was going down.
And I'll continue
Yeah.
to look into that. I know you did a fantastic job of ensuring that we utilize the city departments. Prior to you being chair, a lot of the funding was run through the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, my first meeting was budget and finance orientation on how
Yeah.
to process
Mm-hmm.
payments, because we are not going to handle cash as a commission, but we're going to ensure that every dollar that comes
Mm-hmm.
in here is accounted
Right.
for, and this is going to go to scholarships, and this is going to go to
Right.
the general operating budget, and that has been sustained. I do see the importance of having its independence
Mm-hmm.
and ensuring that we can become sustainable.
Mm-hmm. And a year-round operation.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it should be a
Absolutely.
year-round operation, not just
Absolutely.
it is a
It is a
year-round
year round.
planning,
That's right. That's
but
true.
but it's not a year-round operation,
Yes.
and it's two different things.
Yes.
So I enjoyed my time being of service, and we still do what we can to help the folks that come in to be a part of it.
So one thing that you started, I want to make you aware of, is that we are looking into purchasing a stage.
Good.
I remember being in a meeting, and I don't remember which meeting it was. You was like, "Why we don't own our stage? Why we spend the majority of our budget,
Right. 100,000 at
the
least.
majority of our allocation on the stage every single year?"
Mm-hmm.
And now that we get a larger allocation, we are looking into purchasing a stage. But then there's the thing of, well, we're gonna house it at. So like, we got to figure out. But that's the year round.
Yeah. Well, one of the
Yeah.
things that since it's not independent, and we can have that conversation
Mhm.
offline, but the City of San Antonio's Park and Recreation Department
Mm-hmm.
provides those types of facilities, but then they contract out for
Mm-hmm.
those vendors to come in. So part of my background experience, because I used to work for the Black Circus,
Mm-hmm.
and I did 19 of the 26 cities all over, and then when we went to Johannesburg, South Africa,
Yeah.
we set up the mobile stage,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where that conversation came from, because when you contract out, and when we
Make
were doing the
money.
bids,
Mm-hmm.
some of the bids are twice as much as the others.
Mhm.
So you really have to understand, what are we buying?
Yeah.
When we know the City of San Antonio's Park and Rec Department has equipment,
Mm-hmm.
and how is that? Or is or should the convention center own it, and then you have priority to it? So you really got to look at, because if the public agency is buying, it's going to be less cost. And then, like you said, the storage, it'll cost you more to store that thing than to buy it.
purchase it,
Okay.
yeah.
So when we look at, and maybe you put an RFP out for some recommendations
Mm-hmm.
on how it operates, because will it remain at Pittman Sullivan Park? With all of or does it move to the parking lot of the Alamo Dome? Because that's where we were trying to move it to,
Mm-hmm.
and have the festivities. Because what's another 3 blocks down our street?
Right.
Because on the rainy days you can't be on the field,
You cannot.
and we need to raise the stage,
Mhm.
because it's not a park and rec kind of
Mhm.
event. This should be a nationally known stage, 20 feet high, like a Beyonce stage,
Yeah.
that we say this is San Antonio, and you can see this stage from the airplane
Yeah.
when somebody's flying over downtown. And with the conversations now, what's happening with downtown and the revitalization,
Yeah.
it should be a part of that conversation. It could be on the parking lot of the Alamo Dome,
It could.
and
be,
you just walk folks another couple of blocks, and it would be expanded, because right now you have an issue with people not staying to take care of the food vendors,
Correct.
because they just want to get out of there. So
Mhm.
we redid the how you now have now for the beer pickup,
Yeah.
because and then what's the role of St. Philip's College, you know So you got a lot of things, and I'm always here to help.
I
on
will
the big
be. I
picture.
will be
On the big
following
picture.
up with
Yeah.
you on
Okay.
big picture stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was very good.
It was
I
good.
appreciate you
Yeah,
coming by and seeing
absolutely.
us,
Yes.
and anything that we can do, because we're all dreamers,
Yes.
and our dream is for the best in this community.
Absolutely.
I've taken on some folks in the community to make sure we keep our neighborhood safe,
Yes.
whether it's a zoning commission case or another zoning commission case, because it's about keeping our neighbors and what do we do in our community, and not just the east side, but the entire county and everybody on all walks of life,
You're correct.
because that's what Dr. King was all about. Not the color of your skin, but I'm looking at the content of your character. And when you got problems with your character, I'll give you a second chance. But that third and fourth, we're going to have to talk about it.
Yeah.